Hello and welcome back to Filmmaking Flashback, where we take an in-depth look on the development of popular movies. Today we're taking a look at the second entry into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, The Incredible Hulk. This story starts in 2003 with the release of Ang Lee's Hulk, distributed by Universal Pictures. The character rights for the Hulk franchise were very different from the character rights of other studios. If Universal didn't make a movie about Hulk within a certain amount of time, they wouldn't have to give the rights back to Marvel, whereas Fox, for example, would. Around the time of Hulk's release, pre-production on Hulk 2, which would be the sequel to Ang Lee's Hulk, began. In the process of developing the movie, there were a couple ideas that were brought up, such as bringing in General Ross and using the villains Abomination and the Leader. The studio wanted to make Abomination the main villain, so that Hulk could have an actual threat and not just have a whole movie of him running from humans. Universal set a release date of May 2005, which eventually passed by with no Hulk 2 released. On January 18, 2006, Avi Arad confirmed that Marvel Studios would be funding and getting more control of the direction of the movie because Universal missed the release date. However, even though Marvel got more control of the project, the movie would still be distributed under Universal and not Paramount, but since Marvel got more control, they decided to scrap the movie as a sequel and rebrand it as a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Kevin Feige, now studio chief, decided that if this was no longer going to be a sequel, then they should rewrite it to make it feel less like an Ang Lee movie and more of its own thing, to avoid correlation between the two films. The movie, once under Marvel control, was renamed The Incredible Hulk. Louis Leterrier, who was in talks to direct Iron Man, was hired to direct this movie. Leterrier was a huge fan of the Hulk cartoon and live-action series with Lou Ferrigno, so he was a perfect fit. At first, he was worried he wouldn't be able to replicate Ang Lee's style, but was reassured that this would be his own vision. Leterrier's primary inspiration for the film was Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale's Hulk Gray. He would even pin up panels from the comic to the storyboard and recreated them in the movie. The film was written by Zach Penn, who was brought on after the studio turned down another screenwriter's treatment in 2006. There were two scenes from his script that were written into this movie: Banner triggering the Hulk by jumping out of a helicopter, and Banner learning he can't do the deed with Betty. The latter being developed into Leterrier's plan to show Bruce Banner's struggle with the monster within him. Feige added to that statement saying that they would explore that element of wish fulfillment, of overcoming an injustice or a bully and tapping into a strength that you didn't quite realize you had yourself. In November 2006, a release date was set for June 13, 2008, only a month after Iron Man was released. So now with the release date in place, they began casting. In April 2007, Edward Norton was cast as Bruce Banner. Leterrier's original choice for the role was Mark Ruffalo, who would later go on to play Banner in The Avengers. Norton was cast because producer Gail Ann Hurd liked his portrayals of duality in Primal Fear and Fight Club. He also reminded Kevin Feige of Bill Bixby, who played Banner in the TV series. Norton was interested in playing Banner in Ang Lee's Hulk, but turned it down after reading the script. When he met with Marvel to talk about being cast for this movie, he liked their vision but wanted to change a few things, so he arranged a deal that allowed him to be an actor and also participate as a writer. Additional casting went on for the next few months. In May, Liv Tyler was cast as Betty Ross, Tim Roth was cast as Emil Blonsky, who would become Abomination, and William Hurt was cast as General Ross. Tim Blake Nelson was cast as Samuel Stearns in July, and Ty Burrell was cast as Doc Samson in October. Norton and Penn, with input from Leterrier, wrote the script together. One of the ways they made this film separate from Ang Lee's Hulk is by not focusing too heavily on the origin of the Hulk, making it a brief montage for the beginning of the movie. Norton said, "I don't even like the phrase origin story, and I don't think in great literature and great films that explaining the roots of the story doesn't mean it comes in the beginning. Audiences know this story, so deal with it artfully." Norton wrote and rewrote scenes every day, but in the end, the Writers Guild of America decided to give full writing credit to Penn. Leterrier came to work with a broken foot when filming began on July 9, 2007 in Toronto, Canada. Mayor David Miller, who was a big Hulk fan, helped production by closing Yonge Street for 4 days when it was time to shoot the final battle between Hulk and Abomination. The first action scene at Culver University was filmed at the University of Toronto and Morningside Park. For the part where the soldiers trapped Banner to smoke him out, they built a glass wall over a walkway at the university. In Hamilton, Ontario, a factory was planned to be demolished, but fortunately, they were able to stall the plans to shoot the interior shots of the factory and use its underground floors as Ross's military command center. While in Canada, they also shot on CFB Trenton, a glacier in Bella Coola, British Columbia, and after that they filmed for 1 week in New York City and 2 weeks in Rio de Janeiro. It's a common misconception that Robert Downey Jr. made a cameo as Tony Stark in the end credit scene. Not the case, actually. This scene was at the end of the movie, before the credits. Downey owed Marvel Studios a favor for helping rebuild his career. He said that this was a smart move for Marvel because while he was promoting Iron Man, he could mention this movie. This makes The Incredible Hulk the first and only MCU movie to not feature an end credit scene.
I hear you have an unusual problem. You should talk. You should listen. What if I told you we were putting a team together? Who's we?
The movie wrapped filming in November 2007 after 88 days of shooting. It was Leterrier's intent to use prosthetics and makeup for Hulk and Abomination as opposed to the CGI of Ang Lee's film. The makeup artists from X-Men The Last Stand were hired to practically create Blonsky's transformation into Abomination. Tom Woodruff Jr., who created the costumes for the Alien films since Alien 3, created 2 busts of the Hulk and a pair of prosthetic hands, which would be used as stand-ins for the CGI. To avoid further complicating production, they never made a full-size animatronic because it would take too long to set up and be too much work to puppeteer. They ultimately decided that it would be easier to do Hulk and Abomination with motion capture. Norton and Roth filmed 2,500 takes of different Hulk and Abomination movements. Leterrier wanted the motion capture performances to emulate Andy Serkis's performance as Gollum and King Kong. Instead of hiring Industrial Light and Magic, who created the CGI for Iron Man and Ang Lee's Hulk, Leterrier got Rhythm and Hughes. He also brought along Image Engine, who spent over a year creating the shot where Banner's gamma blood falls through 3 factory floors into a bottle. Practical effects were still used in the movie. Most of the destruction was practical, and Stern's mutating head was created with an animatronic dummy head. Leterrier's first choice to write the score was Craig Armstrong of Massive Attack. Leterrier suggested the soundtrack be released on a 2-disc album. Armstrong thought he was joking until Marvel asked him why they were given only 1 disc to compile the album. The movie had your standard marketing plan. Burger King had Incredible Hulk toys, 7-Eleven had exclusive Slurpee cups again, action figures, and a video game tie-in by Sega, who also made the Iron Man game. But aside from that, Toronto added the Incredible Hulk to its green screen initiative, which was a plan to make shooting movies more eco-friendly. Producer Gail Ann Hurd also noted that the Hulk, being green, could be used as an environmental analogy. The Incredible Hulk became the first big-budget blockbuster to be given the Environmental Media Association's Green Seal. The Incredible Hulk was released in the US on June 13, 2008. It made back $134.8 million domestically and only $263.4 million worldwide. The movie didn't even make back double its budget, proving it to be rather unsuccessful financially. But hey, plenty of good movies don't make that much. How'd it do critically? On Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 67%, and on IMDb, it has a 6.8. Critics mostly said, for what it lacks in story, it makes up for in pretty good action sequences and some pretty decent special effects. Okay. The film didn't win any awards, but it was nominated for Best Superhero Film at the National Movie Awards, but lost to The Dark Knight. It was also nominated for Best Science Fiction Film at the Saturn Awards, but lost to Iron Man. Oh boy. So, The Incredible Hulk may not have been the smash hit everyone was hoping for, but it's definitely a worthy addition to the MCU, at least in my opinion. So that's that. Join me next time where we're taking a look at the third and probably the most underrated entry into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Iron Man 2.
I'm Hulk and I will defeat you!
Okay, my turn.
I am the Hulk. I am Abomination.
Oh, I'm the Hulk. I'm so sad. I don't know how to defend myself. My
Right now at Burger King, you can collect all 6 Incredible Hulk toys, 1 per kids meal. Incredible Hulk toys are now at BK.